So you've been on the analogs for a while, you're wanting to get off them, or you're off them and you got your little pen vaporizer, you've got your little, little stick with your clear miser or whatever, or you're still on the sticks and you're trying to get off of them, but the pens aren't doing it for you. And you see all these people with these huge clouds, and you might have tested one of your buddies or went to a shop and some kind shopkeep was across the counter and let you hit his mod, and you just hit that, and this is basically everybody's first experience right here. Right there. You don't know what you're doing, but you liked it. That was a ton of flavor. The cloud was neat. The cloud was cool. It's a nice experience, and you want to get into it. But you don't really know what you're doing. So you ask somebody for help, or you watch a quick video online or something like that, or you find a little tutorial, and you get a little bit of information. You go out and you buy some products. But then you just come back home, or you go to a local shop, or you sit down across the counter from where you bought it, and you just open up your bag or your box or your goodies, and you just look down and you're like, what the hell am I looking at? What are these things? You might as well have handed me a box of microchips and told me to go build Skynet or something like that. Well, here is a tutorial that's going to teach you every single thing you need to know about the hobbyist or enthusiast level of vaping, the cloud chasing, flavor chasing, or essentially just the DIY aspect of vaping, which is the building your own coils, wicking your own coils, and dripping, but not necessarily always dripping. Sometimes we're building tanks or like Genesis style atomizers, etc. We're going to give you a basic tutorial that's going to get you your feet wet, essentially. The way we're going to start is we're going to go over some of the devices that you might encounter. Not really the brand or the specific model, but kind of the only way I can say it is the genre of the device that you're using, what category it is, how it would be categorized. For example, you have your higher wattage box mods, the regulated box mods. You've got a squonk box mod. You have a temperature control box mod. You have a mechanical mod. RDAs, sub tanks, etc. We're just going to cover all these different things and really what they are and basically what you do with them and which device is for you. So you're not going out and seeing somebody blow a cloud and thinking you need a 280,000 watt box mod to get these big clouds. Here I have a 60 watt single 18650 battery that gets the job done. You don't always need these big devices. We'll cover off, help you decide which device is going to be best for you, what you're going to like, what you're not going to like, and then help you make a better decision and kind of teach you along the way. So stick with us through this, and I'm going to teach you something. Welcome to part one of our intro to building and mechanical mods, our basic introduction to vaping video series. It's going to be a 4-part video series. First part is going to be the basic introduction. Second part is going to be an introduction to coils. Third part is going to be a coil building tutorial, and the fourth part is going to be an introduction to wicking and a wicking tutorial. I feel like we're not going to touch on, not going to turn those into 2 videos, so you can just combine those together, the introduction and the wicking technique, because that doesn't take very long. So this is part one, where I'm just going to talk to you generally about the devices and safety and what to look for and what a build looks like, stuff like that, why we do things. So here we're going to start with this. Right here I have the IPV-D2, a little device I actually just got my hands on today. It is a temperature control, 70 or 75 watts. It's one or the other, I can't remember. Right now I have it at 60 watts in wattage mode with a build that is 0.2 ohms and it's firing at 3.54 volts. That's probably completely foreign to you, but I promise it gets easier along the way. This stuff, it just becomes a part of your vocabulary after a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months of just doing this stuff and learning about it. Like if somebody came to me talking to me about building a car, I wouldn't know what they were talking about. Someone came up to me and started talking to me about vaping, and I had no idea what they were talking about, but I stuck with it. I watched videos. I had very helpful friends, very helpful shops locally, including MyFreedomSmokes, that actually helped teach me and get me better into this. So like I was saying, this is the IPV-D2 70-75 watt device. It is a temperature control and a variable wattage device. Variable wattage essentially lets you control the amount of power that's hitting your RDA. there's a formula called Ohm's law, which you can use to calculate what the voltage, the wattage, or the resistance. It's just basic algebra, plugging in variables. If you know 2 of the variables, then you can solve for the 3rd. It's basic high school algebra, 9th grade level stuff. Pretty rusty if you haven't touched that stuff since high school, but I mean, it all comes back to you. It's like riding a bike once you start doing it. Or if you're just lazy like me, because I am lazy sometimes, and you just don't feel like doing it, there's all kinds of apps for your smartphone that you can get that you just plug in 2 numbers and it gives you something. You plug in your battery information, gives you safe battery information, so you can follow the correct battery safety for your device. So you can get clouds like that. That is 60 watts, so I really would recommend a lower wattage device for beginners. You don't need that high wattage stuff. You can, but I would practice self-control in the beginning, because I mean, you're gonna be tempted to crank up that wattage on these things, and if you really don't know what you're doing, you can, you can waste coils by, popping them, melting them, etc., or whatever you can do. I really recommend starting low, building low. Don't dive in the pool for your first time. Just dip your toes in, get your feet wet. Here we have another temperature control device. This is the IPv4S. It is a 120 watt device, and it is also temperature control. You have the option of running it in wattage mode or temperature control mode. Temperature control mode, we will touch in a later video. I'm just gonna give you a basic explanation. Temperature control, instead of just controlling how much power is directly going to your coils in a constant stream, you're actually, the formula that is used actually detects the temperature of the coils because it knows the set resistance of the wires. Again, sounds like Latin to you, but you're keeping the coils at a constant temperature instead of having like a constant stream of wattage or voltage popping into those coils. Basically, you can set your coils at 400 degrees, and the device will vary the wattage up, 33 watts, 20 watts, 19 watts, 18 watts, 17 watts. It's doing all the math on its own very quickly, hitting the power that you need to keep that coil at a constant 400 degrees. Very useful if you know the combustion point of your cotton. I always just give a guess number. I never research it anymore, but I always keep mine at 400 degrees, so I'll never touch that limit. You can find the combustion level of the cotton and put your coil's temperature right below that threshold, and no matter how long you fire this thing, the cotton will never combust. You'll never get a little black charred spot that tastes like campfire ashes or anything like that. Very useful for a chain vapor, very useful for a person who loves vaping in the car, on the go, throughout the day, and you're just constantly puffing on this thing. Temperature control is definitely going to be for you. Here, I don't have any batteries in this device, but this is a variable wattage device. This is a 160 watt box mod by iJoy. Just got my hands on this not too long ago. Like I said, it's 160 watts. It's kind of a higher power box mod, which is becoming more of the norm. You're seeing a lot of 100 to 150, 180 wattage box mods. People seem to be really loving these things lately. I do enjoy them. I usually use a higher wattage box mod for cloud chasing, because why would you run the lower wattage on something that has so much power? Like I said, I have these lower wattage devices for my lower power, for my good flavor, and I have these things for these just giant billowy plumes, these just gigantic fog machine devices, or what you would use this for. Then you come down to something like this. The nostalgia of cloud chasing. Most people started on these a couple years ago. That's why you'll see so many people still using these. I rarely use mechanical mods anymore. I don't find many uses for them. They're unregulated, meaning there's no safety precautions built into these. They are just mechanical. And if you know what that means, we're not talking about robots or androids or cars or engines or anything like that. We're talking about mechanical in the physics sense. This is a basic machine, so essentially all you're doing is when I push this button up, a little pin comes up, it pushes the battery and it makes contact with the top pin, and the current of the battery just goes straight to your coils and it heats up. It's simple physics, It's same thing with Ohm's law, like I explained earlier, where voltage, the amps of the battery, etc. It's complicated. We'll probably put up like a little infographic or something like that about Ohm's law, or some links below that are going to explain something, maybe something in the video right here. Don't make me look stupid. So basically this thing has no regulation. So if you screw something up top, the device doesn't know it. It's not going to check for it. It's just going to run like a simple machine does. And once you hit this button, everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen. So if you have a short on here, you can short out the battery and the results can be catastrophic if you're not using a safe battery. That gets us to this, safe batteries. What batteries are safe and what batteries are not safe? When I first started in the golden age of vaping, you know, back in my day when we had to walk uphill to the vape shop and then downhill from the vape shop past everybody in their clouds, you know, whatever, joke's not funny. Unfunny jokes aside, back to the batteries. In the golden age of vaping, we didn't really know much about batteries. We used those smartphone apps for battery limit. We would just take our whatever battery we had, look at it and go, okay, it says it's 15 amps. And then you put your 15 amps into your Ohm's law calculator on your phone. And then you say, all right, well, can I build a 0.5? And then, you know, you put the voltage of the battery, the amperage of the battery, you put the resistance, blah, 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 you check it. And it would come out telling you whether or not the battery can handle that limit. That's what we did. Really, you don't have to do that anymore because back then batteries weren't specifically marketed towards being used for vaping. So we were kind of just finding 18650 batteries and 26650 batteries to fit these devices and kind of worked. But now, you know, you have the Sony's, the VTC3s, VTC4s, VTC5s, Samsung 22Rs, you've got your Vamp, your eFest. All these things are pretty good batteries. They've been, you know, tried and tested by the community, by people who know more about what they're doing than you or I do. Pretty intelligent people. These things have been, you know, tested to the point where we realize they're pretty safe. So I go by this rule. If you're asking, is it safe? Then it's not safe. Just don't use it because the batteries that are safe are pretty well known right now. And I would just say stick to those. Don't open up a laptop battery case and look at it and go, oh, cool, there's 4 batteries in here and they're 18650 sized and they say Sony on them. They're not made for vaping. Do not use those for vaping. You're gonna lose your fingers, you're gonna lose your teeth, you're gonna have your face blown up. It's not a pretty picture of what's gonna happen to you. So essentially just stick with the big brands. Stick with the brands the shops are carrying. If you're getting them and they're looking like sketchy batteries, do your research. Google the batteries, find out the amperage limit, find out the voltage, find out everything about these batteries, do your research. Don't just gamble on this stuff. I will tell you that, you know, Samsungs or Sony's and a Vamped eFest, these are some of the safest batteries you're going to get. So I would say stick around with those. But I mean, if you can't get your hands on those for whatever reason, please, the moment you see that battery, Google or search everything on the internet that you can find about that battery. So, I mean, that's one of the negatives about the mechanical mods is just having to do that, you know, with these devices not regulated, have no safety precautions. But in these cool regulated devices that we have here, they are regulated. If you have a single 18650 in your device like I do in here, and you put something on here like a crazy build, let's say like a 0.001 ohm resistance, dual coil, 12 gauge, you know, 2 wraps, don't ever do that. Thing on here, you put it in your RDA, somehow you get it to fit, you throw it on your device and you hit it, it's gonna say something like atomizer short or resistance low or something like that, or it's just not gonna fire, it'll flash or something like that. It's not going to let you fire it. Devices have a, they have a minimum or, you know, like a maximum lowest threshold that you can go to, a minimum threshold that you can go to. You know, sometimes they'll say minimum value 0.3 ohms, some are 0.5, some are going down to 0.15 now, even lower with some of these devices. But they have safety precautions in effect. So if your battery fails, you have a short, your resistance is too low, or something's going wrong, you know, maybe your device isn't set up on here all the way, it'll let you know, flash on the screen, give you some kind of signal letting you know that your device isn't going to work or there's something not safe going on. This is why I highly recommend that new vapors start off with regulated devices. They're getting dirt cheap, guys. They're so much cheaper than what they used to be. You can find a great setup for like 60 bucks. That's an RDA, you know, a box mod, a battery, and, you know, like a thing of wiring. I mean, you can get out of some places for 60, 70 bucks depending on like if there's a sale or whatever going on. So I mean, like, there's really no excuse for anybody not getting a quality device anymore. So what exactly is a safe build? Safe build is basically anything that fits in the category of what we've been talking about, fits in the amperage limit, fits in the, not necessarily fits in the voltage limit, doesn't really make sense, but just fits in the amperage of the battery and doesn't push your battery too hard. You don't really want to be pushing a 0.001 build on an unregulated, mechanical mod or something like that, because if anything is off, if there's one of the coils is built, kind of non-symmetrical to the other coil or something like that, or anything, it's just pushing a little bit too much limit on this battery, then all of a sudden these things can become dangerous, and that's not what we want. We don't want people getting burned or shocked. I've been shocked doing stupid things with mechanical mods before. It is not a good feeling. Safety is one of the biggest things that you need to be very attentive to when you're building and stuff like that. This is hobbyist level. There is a certain level of, not necessarily danger, because it's not very dangerous, but there's just a certain amount of awareness that you just constantly need to attend to when you're taking care of this stuff, because you can get burned. I actually have a pretty big blister right here because I was being a big dummy and trying to hold conversations with 2 people at work while I was building, pulsing my coils. You might not know what that means, but I was pulsing my coils, which means I got them, the red hot. I'm testing my coils, and then something happened, and either like I lost grip of this or I knocked it over and it fell over, and when I tried to catch it, didn't think, finger touched the coil. Now I have a pretty substantial blister on my finger right here. Got a little bit of a burn down here too. That's not too bad, but I mean, it burned me pretty good. And luckily it was a burn and not some stupid mistake that I made where my device exploded or melted or caught on fire and I lost my hand or my mouth or God forbid, my beard. So I mean, just really pay attention when you're doing this, guys. So what is a sign of a dangerous build? Well, a dangerous build could be when you're pulsing your device, when you don't have your wick in here and you have your device and you're testing your coils, making sure they're heating up evenly, and you start firing one and they're both turning orange, and then all of a sudden one has a little spot that is turning white hot. It's just glowing way hotter than the other. What that could be is a tiny piece of your wiring material has flaked off and stuck right there, and it's completing the circuit, making it hotter right there for some reason. Could be a weird gap spacing in between the coils that's causing it to do that. Could be an uneven build where you did 7 wraps on one side, 6 wraps on the other. But it's dangerous because you never know that when you wick that thing, if you don't catch it and you put your cap on there, you got your juice in it and you start hitting it and you're firing it, you're getting one of those deep inhales like, and you don't see it, but that one white hot coil is hitting the melting point of that wire, and then suddenly snap, and then when it snaps, it'll melt and these coils will snap. Well, it's like a slinky. You let go and it snaps, it's gonna like jumble all together. Well, it could touch somewhere else and complete a circuit there and put a very dangerous build, or put a very dangerous situation into your hands, because you never know if this thing could explode or hurt you in any way, and that's definitely not what we want. So pay attention to your coils, make sure everything is neat, make sure you don't have anything touching, just no shorts or anything like that. You don't want to get shocked and you don't want to get burned. This is a safe build. Why do we chase clouds? Why do we build? Why don't we stick down to these factory coils that you get? Why aren't we using the sub tanks? Why aren't we just using the nickel coils? And it's all because we're not necessarily getting what we want from the industry now. The industry is definitely catching up. The innovation from these Chinese companies and certain American companies, they're really pushing the industry forward, and we're getting a lot of big technology, a lot of good hardware that's coming out lately. But still, I'm not exactly getting everything I want from the factory tanks and these little factory coils that you can buy. So essentially the only way to get what I want is to build it. You can buy a car and it's an awesome car, but if you want to get something more out of it, you got to take those factory parts out, put those custom parts in, soup up the engine, take care of it, get a little bit better. And that's because that's what you want, and the industry isn't meeting your standards, so you upgrade it. Same with computers. Your graphics card getting a little outdated, pop that thing out, put you a new graphics card in there, upgrade the RAM, etc., bigger hard drive. That's what we essentially do with this. I could put a build in here and say, you know what, man, I'm not feeling the way this juice tastes like this. Throw a different kind of build in there, do a little more flavor build, get a little bigger surface area like I have in here. I mean, that tastes fantastic. It tastes like I'm basically drinking the liquid. And I'm also getting big, satisfying clouds, tons of flavor in my mouth all at once. It looks cool, can be obnoxious. Be courteous in public. but I'm getting what I want. And that's the only thing that keeps me vaping. I probably would have quit vaping a long time ago if I was stuck with these other coils, because they're not doing what I actually need from vaping. It might be good for you, and so that's why you've got to make a decision, and hopefully this video helps you make these decisions. So stay tuned for part 2, which is going to be the introduction to coils, where I'm going to get in and follow through on some of these terms, like, you know, pulsing and what I'm talking about with wicking, and how to build a coil. What is it? Give you a broader explanation of whatever we've been talking about, show you these devices way more, put different builds maybe on some of these devices, and you can see the difference in what I'm doing. A cloud chasing build, flavor chasing build, show you what these coils are, probably go in a little more depth into temperature control, but hopefully you're going to learn something from these videos. So stay tuned for part 2, which should be either in the playlist right after this, or we'll throw up a larger video with all these in there. But share these videos to people that don't really understand, and hopefully you can help them like people have helped me throughout my journey through the vaping world, or whatever you want to call it. So thank you for watching, and thank you for vaping.